Hey everyone, Sycra here, and today I'm doing a speed sketch. And what I usually do with speed sketches and speed paintings is I tend to just, draw something while talking about something completely different, but still try and keep it art related. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to actually be talking about the drawing that I'm doing here. Just going to be talking about random art thoughts that I'm having. And today what I wanted to talk about is psychology in art, and specifically things in art that are not related to skill building, like learning your anatomy, learning your proportions, learning your values, and yet they really, really impact you. And for me, the skill has always been super difficult as a thing to learn. And so what I would sometimes hear from artists when I was younger is just, it's important to find out what you want to do and you'll get the skill and stuff. And I was like, you'll get the skill, but how can you be so confident that you'll get the skill? I didn't think I could get the skill. Skill felt like this huge thing that I was always trying to get. I always wanted to get more because I had ideas in my head and I wanted to express them, but I never had the skill to do so. And it was a case of when I was young, at first I wanted to be a comic artist. No, at first I was just drawing because I was bored in class. Then I wanted to do comics because I found some comics and I started reading them and it's like, whoa, this is cool. I want to do this. And then I always wanted to be a scientist before that, and so then I'm like, no, let me just continue with the science until my grades suffered. And so it was this thing of, okay, fine, I guess I'll do art because I'm not really good in science, so I guess I'm not good in science and I'm not good in math, so what else am I good at? Oh, okay, I'm okay at art. And I had a lot of ideas about what I'd do. Like, I would do this thing where I would say, by the time I'm 30, I'm going to be this good. I'm going to be as good as Bouguereau or something. By the time I'm this age, I'll probably be working for this company and stuff. I don't know, just a lot of fortune telling, a lot of imagining results before I got there. And eventually, so what kind of threw me off this whole drawing cool stuff, because before it was comics and then later it was video games, because I really got into video games. I was a huge fan of JRPGs, which I think I've mentioned before, especially like Final Fantasy and Xenogears and stuff like that. But anyway, I had this teacher and she told me that, all your drawings are about power. And I think this was the first big psychological breakthrough thing, because she mentioned all the things I drew were about power, and I felt like, oh yeah, she's right, and I felt exposed. Like I wanted to be this really mysterious person, like this person that you could look at them and you might see some things, but they'd always have this air of mystery. You never be able to figure them out. I don't know why it was important to me, but it was. It was like, I want to be this cool person. And when she said, all your drawings are about power, and I thought about it, and it's like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I tend to do guys with big muscles and swords or dragons or stuff like that. It's like, yeah, it's all about power. And then the instant connection was, so that means I must not have power. This is wish fulfillment. I'm just living out my fantasies in my art because I wish I was powerful, but I didn't feel powerful. And like all this happened in like a split second. And I just felt like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. So I switched to what was in my, what else was there, which was this emotion. Like I was pretty depressed when I was a teenager. No, I was pretty depressed when I was a kid, and I was pretty depressed my whole life. But anyway, so there's a lot of depression, a lot of anger, a lot of violence, and a lot of sadness and stuff. So it's like, okay, I want to convey that. That's what I want to focus on. And so I wanted to be this fine art portrait painter who conveyed sadness. This is my goal. This is the thing I wanted to do. And what happened was, well, I have this disorder, dissociative identity disorder and stuff. But anyway, That plus depression plus some other things all culminated in me ending up in the hospital and some stuff happening. And then I was kind of out of it for a few years, but I kind of picked up art after that. And then there's a lot of haziness about those years. And then I started feeling better about my life, and I started feeling like I didn't have all that sadness and all that depression anymore. Well, I guess some of the depression, yeah, but not as much sadness and anger. And it was like the whole point of me wanting to draw this stuff was because I felt like I had this in me and I wanted to express it in case there was someone like me out there who felt this way but didn't see it. Because I didn't see that in art. I would see portraits, I would see paintings, and they were like, oh, angels or cool things. Or, I mean, the closest I got was Rembrandt in terms of like an artist who really was conveying some deeper emotions. But even then I felt like this isn't what I feel inside. So I wanted to be this representative in a way, to really speak to people who were going through child abuse or whatever, and letting them know like it's someone in this world is like you and understands what you're going through. But then when I didn't feel that anymore, it was like I felt like I would be sort of a traitor almost. Like you don't even feel this and you're trying to make art about it. I felt like I would be a fraud. So I don't know, my ideas shifted, but I was still doing art. It's like, okay, I'm still on, because before it was, okay, I want to convey this, but I need to be able to draw really well. I need to be able to paint really well to draw a face so realistic that when you look at it, you get the emotion, you get the feeling. It's like, okay, so I was on this, I must learn to draw realistic. And then it's this thing of like that kind of, the desire kind of fizzled out. But I still wanted, I mean, I was still learning. I was still on this way to learn all this skill because that's all I had at this point. After school, because like pretty much in my last year of school, I was, I think 3/4 of the year I was in the hospital or else in and out of hospital and stuff. And then for the next few years, I was pretty much, I think I was in therapy for over 10 years. So even when I was making YouTube videos, I was still in therapy. What? Yeah. So when that fizzled out, it's like, okay, I'm still doing art. I'm still chasing this skill, but what am I doing it for? And at first I kind of faked it. Like I still kept telling, when people said, well, why do you want this? What do you want to do? And I would still tell them, I want to get this emotion across, but it started to feel really not me, started to feel hollow, like just something I'm reciting. So then I started just learning more, and I'd already started YouTube because, again, gaining skill is so freaking hard that I felt if I can give anyone a helping hand, a leg up to here's some knowledge that I learned. It was really hard for me to figure this out because I didn't at that point hadn't gone to school or anything. But here, if this helps you, fine, good. Then I'll give it out so maybe it can help. So I had that going, and then I ended up going to animation school because the reason I went to animation school is because I started doing portraiture, right? I'd already gone into this fine art world. I've mentioned this before, but I felt like caricature had more life to it. And then when I went to caricature, I saw animators in caricature who had more life in their work, and they drew better. So I pursued animation school, and I went to the same school that my brother did. And I was afraid of animation because I thought it looked really boring and just a lot of drawing, and it kind of, it wasn't for me. But I really respect it, and I cannot stress how much I respect and fear animation. But yeah, so it became this thing of like chasing goals, but not really having a reason for it anymore. It's like, oh, I want to get this because it's better, because it has more life, because it has more energy. And so I think that's what, when I got into card art, was just because it's like, well, okay, I have all this skill. What do I do with it? And then I saw other people were in the card art business, and I made friends who were doing that as a living. And so I went into that, and then I started getting some freelance commissions, and people started knowing me from YouTube, and YouTube started paying as well. So that was something, supplement to my income. But I recently was talking with Flavia, and she was letting me know this thing of, because I wasn't feeling motivated, and I was wondering, like, why don't I feel motivated? Why don't I feel like, I did this whole pointy chins thing, and I developed a style, which was really important to me. And then I was thinking of, like, I want to do something else. And we talked about it, and she helped me to realize that what the problem was is that I was getting addicted to this whole learning thing. It's almost like I assumed people, like, I would say I want to do something, and when I was young anyway, no one would really believe me. They never thought I could be something really that good, I guess. I don't know, maybe they did, but it didn't feel that way. It felt like I had to prove something, like I had to prove my worth to people. And so I would start something new and then try and become really good at it. But then when I'm almost good, like almost at the top, almost where I want to be, I would just lose interest and then go to something else. And it became this thing where when I looked back, it's like, I've done this. I did this with caricature, because near the end of the caricature thing, I could have become a decent caricature artist. With animation, I guess not, but with card art illustration as well. It's like, when I started to get okay at it, I kind of lost interest. And so I realized, like, what I'm chasing isn't this. It's not like I want to be good at card art, because I had this idea, and I just learned recently how to build a computer, and I was thinking, like, oh, maybe I should do that. Maybe I should go into building computers. And it was very stupid. Like, oh, why? What? You spent your life learning art. Why would you do this? And so I realized, like, yeah, this is kind of crazy. But it was more like going into something where no one expects you to be good, getting good at it and proving them wrong, but not sticking around long enough to actually feel like you're good, feel like you accomplished something. And I don't know why I'm telling you this in terms of, like, I don't think, this is just my story. I don't think it's very helpful in most ways, except to say that sometimes we struggle with things that are not obvious and we don't know them, but they're there. They're underlying our motives, and it's important to look at them. So when I did find that out, Flavia let me know, because I'm like, what do I do then? And she's like, just stick with it. Stick with what you're doing until you become good at it. Like, break the cycle. And so that's what I am attempting to do. When I look at my work now, it's very hard to see much good in it, but I'm sticking with it. It's something where it's like, okay, fine. I don't want to be someone who only gets pretty good at something and then does something else. I really do want to get good at something. So I don't know if this rant, it's not a rant. Is it a rant? Maybe it's a rant. If this thing helped, that's great. If not, maybe the drawing was entertaining in some fashion. And if neither were, then thanks for watching.